FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
There have been some conservative commentators that have been urging conservatives to vote for Hillary, thinking that she would be the weaker candidate against McCain. I think the latest polls show that either Hillary or Obama would prevail over McCain, although Obama is at 6%, I think, and Hillary at 3%. A lot of water between now and the election, but what would be your assessment of the viability of either Obama or Clinton against McCain?
You know, I think the issue kind of setup favors Democrats. You know, the economy is the issue that seems most on Americans' minds right now. I think if you look at the generic polls, by big numbers, voters trust Democrats to handle the economy. In fact, by not always big numbers, but almost every issue with the exception of terrorism, in the generic ballots, voters trust Democrats to handle it more than they do Republicans. But generic ballots don't necessarily transfer to the real world. I think the Democrats have a lot of wind at their back, but you know, it always comes down to a binary question. So it's always going to be to one candidate against another candidate. I think Senator McCain has a lot of strengths. I think he also has some weaknesses. Obviously, he has military experience, and people really value and honor his service and his sacrifice on behalf of this country, as we all should and do. But he said himself in a debate he doesn't know much about the economy. It's not his strong suit. He doesn't really have a plan to do things to deal with issues like health care. The public doesn't particularly seem supportive of his idea, you know, his plan to, you know, with regard to the war in Iraq, to stay 100 years if necessary. I think people think we could probably wrap it up a little more quickly. And so I think all those things favor. Now, he's pretty good on, you know, he's much more forward-leaning on issues like immigration and the environment, but there's still plenty of room for debate, and I think Senator McCain will be under a lot of pressure from conservatives to talk more about security than about issues like immigration. So I think the issue matrix favors Democrats. I think Senator McCain has a lot of weaknesses. Plus, he's going to be he's going to be harpooned to George Bush, and I hope Democrats do this effectively, like Ahab to Moby Dick. You know, he's going to be dragging around the great white whale called the Bush administration. So you know, if those are, I'd rather be playing our hand than theirs. But we need to give them a candidate, and we have two strong candidates. But they each come with weaknesses. You know, Senator Obama is somewhat untested so far, and we all know Senator Clinton brings. She's had a past. She had a life before this campaign. It comes with her. I think we saw in South Carolina when President Clinton became the issue that people aren't sure they want to go back to that. President Clinton has certainly been an exemplary former president in my view, but I think when he became an angry husband, you know, taking on the world in behalf of his wife, it didn't work out so good. He's gone back to being a former president advocating on behalf of his wife rather than a husband defending her, but I do think it's been interesting that she does better when he recedes a little bit. We didn't see him on Tuesday night, and I don't think that was an accident. So it's complicated. I think both candidates bring some weaknesses up. I think either one could beat John McCain, but, you know, it's not easy, and I don't think we Democrats should underestimate the challenge that lies ahead. For those of you who are Republicans, I hope you lose.